residence of the Argentine ambassador on Belgrave Square, for those of you who know London. And the ambassador and his wife live on the second and third floor. We're going to be in the reception room on the ground floor, and the first floor, the ballroom and all that. And all the decor that you see came with a house that was bought by Argentina in, I think, about 60 years ago. And Andrea Harari, who is the owner of Jagged Art, was invited to curate the show here of craft elements. And you're going to see all these incredible pieces of fine craft that she's added, and how well it marries with the decor. So I'm going to turn the camera, and you're going to start seeing all these beautiful things. What I'd like to do, Marion, can you put the spotlight on my camera?
It's done. Done already. Done. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So this is, I just came in from the front door, and we are in the entrance hall here. And you can see the first contrast between this very modern metal pieces with this classic bust of some Napoleonic general. The artist who did the metal pieces is Simon Gauger, and it's just forged and welded steel that has been painted. And I think for me, what's really interesting is this incredible contrast. Here we have a golden nugget by Andrea Salvatore. And do you remember when we did our Italy tour, we visited Andrea's studio in northern Italy, and Andrea has this habit of creating whimsy. So he collects all these little objects, figurines, and then he transforms them. And in this case, he's put this enormous golden nugget on it. But I have to say that in front of this mirror, it really works. And if we turn here, we see another contrast. This is a piece by Thurl Wright. Thurl is represented by Jagged Art. And you remember Thurl works with paper. So in this case, it's very simple. In terms of process, it's just some wire, chicken wire, in which she has rolled paper and put them in each square. But the effect, particularly against this velour, damask velour, is absolutely stunning. It looks almost a bit like a, I don't know, like a cow's head, or I'm not sure, but it's quite effective. So this is the rest of the entrance hall. We'll go and see the other pieces, but I'm going to take you into the first room here. Do tell me if I walk too fast. I'll give you first a little panorama, and then we'll go and have a look at the pieces. So you can see how majestic these rooms are with these huge ceilings. Isn't it stunning? Feel free to comment and let me know. I won't be able to see if you put comments in the chat box, but unmic yourself and do comment and ask questions. Look at the size of this room, the paneling, all these classic furniture. It's the draping. I don't know, the ceilings must be, I'd say about 14, 16 feet high, something like that. So we have a really great, here we go.
Hello.
Do you remember Marco from Made in Brittany?
Hello, everyone.
And Marco has a lot of pieces here. So why don't you start maybe showing us in this room,
of course, you're welcome.
What you have.
Okay, so just in the middle of the stairs. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I can show you a couple of pieces which you got here. Let's start with this very eye-catching piece. As you can see, I couldn't find a better place to stage this piece rather than this lovely red velvet sofa. This is a piece of maiolica from the south of Italy. very close to Naples, and specifically on the Amalfi Coast. This symbol is a symbol of, it's kind of a horn, and is a symbol of good luck. In the south of Italy, many people keep a smaller version, like pocket version of it in their pockets, because it's actually bringing good luck. This is made in Maiolica, in ceramic, and is gilded in, well, it's got luster, platinum and gold. And all the symbology you see here is somewhat related to good luck, good fate, fortune. So the number 13 is actually good luck number for south of Italy. Many creatures, the owl has been through centuries, what wisdom and also good fortune. And there are so many different things across centuries and traditions. The style this is decorated is called grottesco, which dates back from the Romans' time, and then it has evolved through centuries. So tradition interpreted in a very contemporary way.
It's a huge piece. I mean, it's about what, 3 feet, I would say, about 3 feet long.
It's 100 centimeters, so that in feet is about 3 feet. Yeah, it's a meter long.
And then we have all that collection of these ceramics. They look almost like scales. I
know this is the incredible new pieces. That's an Italian artist who works and lives in Britain, in London. He graduated as a master at the Royal College of Art last year, but he's already 50 years old because he spent many years in the States, in the United States, working with Tony Marsh, which is one of the most prominent ceramic artists. The particular things about this vessel you see are very simple. They're actually not at all, because they're not painted. These are actually sleeping drape of porcelain. What does it mean? That means that these decorations are actually part of the body of the work. So it's not applied before. What it does is actually when the porcelain is liquid and put in the slip cast, with a syringe without the needle, it creates these drippings at the side of the slip cast, made of porcelain already. Then he puts the white porcelain and everything melts seamlessly. The tactile aspect of these is incredible because they are so incredibly smooth. Sometimes as an extra stage, he applies manually an overglaze with this tiny decoration, in this case a kind of beans or organic form.
Is it hand-drawn?
Hand-drawn entirely, every little detail. And I think in this bigger vase, if you see, the decoration came amazingly.
So, but there's a kind of a glaze on this, no?
It's called Underglaze, this black one. It can be black or it can be white. We'll show an example in white.
And there's a bit of a relief. You can feel
You can feel it. Yeah. So you can feel the very smoothness of this porcelain and the relief here, because this has been painted on top with a very, very thin kind of needle to paint on top.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I like the white version very quickly, just to show you same process, but with the white underglaze.
Oh, right, yes.
They look like foam.
It does, like, yeah,
bubbles,
like,
yes,
yes,
doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
It's and fantastic. It's a very sophisticated work, I would say. We got more works here, more examples by him.
So here we have different artists also, but those are represented by 2 different galleries, right?
Yeah, this by Jagged Art, Andrea Raria, and the artist is Valera Nascimento. Feel the sound of this porcelain element. It's incredible. So I think it sits beautifully in this corner. Mm-hmm. And then here we got Alice Walton on top, which probably some of you know because
yeah,
too. So porcelain with this incredible gradation of colors and applied in a very skillful and masterful way.
Can you see how she makes the small ribbons and then creates this decor, this pattern? So one of the things to remember that you were explaining earlier, Marco, is that when she handles the clay before it's fired, the colors are not really visible. So she creates a map of colors on the shape itself. Then she applies the ribbon, but not knowing exactly what the color will be once it's fired, because it's the firing process that brings the color out.
Exactly.
And we're going to see Alice Walton again when we go to Stoke-on-Trent on Saturday. for the British Ceramic Biennale. She's just finished a residency at the Wedgwood factory, the Wedgwood Institution, and she's reinterpreted the classic shapes of Wedgwood. You'll see them on Saturday. Actually, I'll be taking films and photos and share them with you. But this work is exquisite. And I had to say that if we listen to this, it's, I don't know, porcelain, singing porcelain. It's a singing porcelain. Still in this room, we have the jars of Charlotte Odes. We did a conversation with Charlotte a little while ago, and Charlotte works a lot with women and with decoupage, and she applies her decoupage to the ceramic and creates this decor. And there's always the theme of the wandering woman, the resting woman. It's all about women and their message. We're going to see a little further, a little later, the set that she's done with women walking from one plate to the next. But these jars are just spectacular. There's one more here. And she has this very voluptuous shape that you can see. These pieces here, and I'm sorry, I'm against the light, so maybe it's a bit glary. This is glass represented by Peter Ting Ying Gallery. This is Zhao Jinia, and this translucent glass, can you see how it looks almost smoky, but with these colors, delicious pastel colors. And yet you have the edge that is completely clear here. And then the colors that are put somehow in the glass. The technique is exquisite. Moving on, a fabulous collapsed basket. This is again ceramic by Mimi Young. She's represented by Cavaliero Finn. This is a very large piece, and it's a lattice of pieces of clay that have been assembled, and then it collapses, and the firing is again very complex, but it's, as you can see, in proportion to the desk on which it stands, it's a really large piece. I wonder how you put that into the kiln and take it out. You probably have no idea what comes out at the end. And that's always the thing with ceramic, is that you never know what the end result is going to look. I won't take you to all the pieces, but I'll show you some highlights. Do you remember when we went to Dehua, to the atelier in China? We saw some of Jeffrey Mitchell pieces. Jeffrey Mitchell is an American ceramicist, and he does these funky, whimsy, funny, humorous pieces, and they are made in the Tingying studio in Dehua. This is a collection that shows you little animals, bears, it looks like mostly, trying to get into the pot of honey, although there's a tiger there, so I'm not quite sure what the story is there. But it's quite striking against this very traditional painting. I love this glass by Vezini Chen. Again, we went to the studio in South London during our ceramic series. So Vezini Chen is husband and wife. Vezini is the lady, I forget her first name. She's Italian and her husband is from Hong Kong. She does the ceramic and he does the glass. So that's a piece by him. It's spectacularly beautiful. bowl that has been engraved and frosted. I'd say it's close to 2 feet wide at its widest. And they work together doing this mix of porcelain and glass, and particularly in the lighting. And this light that I'm walking towards shows the combination of the two material. It's a lotus flower, and the base is in glass and the leaves are in porcelain. I wonder if I can switch it off to show you more detail. You can see how the vein is put on the, oh, here we go. We can see it well now. Can you see all these patterns that are being created by the light? And to fuse and attach the two is extremely complex. And it's a process that they've been working on for years to develop. Where we start some glass piece cylinders. It's absolutely perfect. The artist is Amy Cushing. She is represented by Vessel Gary. And here in all its majesty is the dining room. Look at this room, how exquisite this is. I mean, this grandiose. And it's a real privilege to be in this space because, as you can imagine, it's normally not open to the public. The table is a set that has been created by Charlotte Hose. It's actually a set of 250 pieces. And she reinterpreted again the women. So you can see on this one, there's a woman standing, maybe that's the cooking woman. And you follow the ribbon and we have another woman who's standing on a pot and maybe, I don't know, saying that she doesn't want to be the cooking one. And we carry on a little bit, still following the ribbon. And we have, here she is holding her head high. She's also standing on the cake stand in various compositions and colors. That work was done again with Wedgwood. And Charlotte created the transfers, she drew them, she cut them, and then they were applied on the regular china. Here we see a broken cup, and maybe there's a message. Here is Andrea, who is going to talk to us in more detail about Charlotte's work.
Hello.
Andrea Harari is the owner of Jagged Art, and she represents Charlotte. So can you tell us a little bit more about Charlotte's work and particularly this set?
Yes, hi. This is part of an installation that Charlotte has made for museum shows. It's more than, I think, 350 pieces. Here we have only a selection, and it's called After the Taking of the Tea. And you will see Charlotte's signature female figure meandering from one piece of crockery to the other. There is text in some of the plates. It's very playful. Charlotte has done residencies at Spode and at the Wallace Collection. So lots of her pieces draw from the imagery of Spode and of the porcelain of Sèvres and the Fête Galante. So you can see all of this in this incredible piece. And actually, it was a dream to show this piece, although it has been shown in museums around the UK, but never in London, to show on a formal dining room table at the ambassador's house. So finally, we did it, and it's wonderful.
And I want to correct myself. I told you it was Wedgwood. It's not. It was Spode. And I apologize for that mistake. But you can see that giant table that must be sitting at, I don't know.
It's more than 5 meters 20.
Right. And it's covered in part of the collection, and that's not the full collection. So maybe we're going to go in the entrance hall and we can talk about the work of Kazuhito.
Sure.
And also Ashraf Hana.
So this is an impressive entrance hall that probably you have seen already. And here in this grand staircase is, we have floating like clouds that echo the painting on the staircase, the works by Kazuhito Takadoi. Kazuhito trained in horticulture in Japan, and he then moved to the UK to study at R.H. Wisley. These works are made with hawthorn twigs that he harvests, he cleans, he dethorns and leaves them to dry for a year, and then he very patiently ties them together with white linen twine.
Can you see how small these little bows are? These little knots.
This is his
Patience to do that is amazing.
Well, his work is all about time. It's for, he makes works also with green grass that he grows in his garden, and then the grass matures. So it's all about the, time for the grasses to grow and for the pieces to mature. This one has a branch in there, and his works are at the V&A, and he is, he received a special award at the Loewe Craft Prize.
Amazing. And I love the contrast with the China there. And we have Deborah here, who is one half of Cavalier of Finn, the gallery that represents Ashraf Hana. Can you share with us a little bit the work by Ashraf, please?
Yes, so these are parts of a collection that are inspired by his glass works that he did when he was at the Royal College. So they're sort of like inspired by those works, same sort of shapes and forms. And Ashraf's work, if you believe, starts from a pinch pot.
A pinch pot?
A pinch pot, exactly.
What is a pinch pot?
A pinch pot is something that is a very, very basic ceramic technique which you learn when you're in primary school. It's you pinch the clay with your hands and build up a pot. That's the premise of Ashraf's work to begin with. And then he will almost build up the pot as you would with coils, but instead he uses slabs of clay.
So this is not turned.
This is definitely not turned. It's all made with Ashraf's extremely talented hands.
Right. And it's incredibly thin. I mean, I'm going to try to show how thin this is and how deep it is. This is a very tall pot.
Yes, so Ashraf also has developed his own clay called Ashraf Hana clay, which is slightly more coarse and enables him to achieve stronger, taller pots that don't get damaged by the high temperatures that potter uses in the kiln. And Ashraf doesn't use glazes. He works with slip and oxides. So he builds up the intensity of colour in his work by refiring and refiring, which makes it even more important for the clay to be resilient under that amount of pressure. The forms are amazing. I mean, I love Ashraf's work in natural light, because as the day progresses, you see the different parts of the forms get highlighted. I mean, he's just a master at his craft.
So I'd love to contrast him with the work of Hannah Tanzan, who it's, I would say in aesthetic, it's simpatico, but I know that it's very different kind of work.
Yeah, Hannah's work is inspired by the coast, but technically, Hannah is as gifted as Ashraf, and both of them are push boundaries. So these are smaller ellipsoid vessels, part of her hybrid series. And if we come across to look at some of the larger forms, I'll be able to explain to you why they're so special.
Maybe go stand next to them so we can see the scale. I mean, these pots are really very large, particularly the
They are.
one on the right.
This one, it's 73 centimeters high.
73 centimeters high.
Yeah.
So that's about, I'd say 4 feet. No, not quite. 3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet, I'd say.
Yeah.
So Hannah works with printmaking. These bottom pieces are made in a mold, and before she places the clay in the mold, she designs the print. So if you imagine she has a mold which she then paints a design on, places the clay in, and makes the bottom half of her work. She then, with this piece here, she then gets it put onto the wheel, and she throws the top half on the wheel.
Wow.
Which is incredibly skillful.
This is a huge wheel.
It's a huge wheel, and also she has helped to do some of the things she might assistant. And the pieces are, I love the painterly feel of the designs that she works with. They're all, some of them are glazed and some of them are not glazed. They're beautiful, beautiful pieces.
This is a quilt by Abigail Booth, is that right?
That's right.
And
yes.
her quilting is not just the quilting technique, but what's incredible about Abigail is the dyeing technique that she uses with natural grass and natural herbs that she forages and collects and creates these dyes, and then she assembles all these pieces.
And this piece was made specifically for this show because we've not been able to hang anything on the walls unless the nail was already there. And so she made this piece in conjunction with Max so that she could actually lean it on the wall.
Right.
And she designed it so that it would have a lovely dialogue with the...
a dialogue with the urn or
exactly.
this enormous marble urn. Is it marble?
It's marble.
So I'm going to just take a step back so you can see the full installation of the urn talking to the quilt. The support of the quilt is wood made by Abigail's husband, talking to the pot and the base of the pot. So it's fabulous. So we're going to go, thank you so much, Deborah. We're going to go upstairs. I'm just going to give you another view here. I'm going to try not to trip and fall. Walking with a camera in hand is not necessarily the safest thing to do. But look at these pieces from Kazuhito. You can see here very well how the twines are, and you can see the light through it. We really have an incredible view here. The corner, look at these views. Here we are, remember the Windsy, and here it looks like we have half of an elephant with tusks and a trunk. It looks like he's on his head. So you have to wonder what the artist was thinking. So here we have actually wooden vessels by Max Benbridge, who is the husband of Abigail Booth. You saw the quilt this morning. Max does the turning of the green wood and turns it. You're going to see how thin the edge is. He's developed this technique that is very specific. He also burns the wood. He lets the wood crack and naturally change shape as it dries. Right, let's go now into I think it's the ballroom, and we actually have an artist today. We have Chris Day, whom you can remember is the famous glass blower who everybody's raving about, who's winning all the prizes, who most of his life was a plumber, and who's, I think he gives credit to his wife for pushing him to do his art. So tell us a little bit more, Chris, and thank you. It's wonderful that you are here.
No problem at all.
And this is a really new collection and series of pieces, very different from what you have done before.
Most definitely. So this installation is called Under the Influence, and it's about Harewood House. Harewood House recently sold 28 bottles at auction, which sold for about, I think it was £7,000 each. Sorry. Yeah, so Harewood House, they auctioned these that were sold were actually produced during slavery in the 18th century, and I wanted to produce a bottle that was that had that human element to it, because obviously this rum production was shipped from Africa to the the two together, and that looks human bottle as well. It didn't take too long, but it only
Hi, sorry, we lost connection here for a minute, so I'm going to ask Chris to repeat what he was saying.
no problem. So the whole process of me creating these pieces was about restriction. So the restriction of slaves and the transportation of slaves, when I was producing these, because they were so big, is that I had to restrict the glass in two ways. First by the copper cage, and then again by a steel cage, because they were just so big that they were blowing and they were breaking. So the whole process is about the restriction, and it's that conversation of that I'm not just talking about slavery now and talking about that aspect, is that the actual process was engaging of being restricted. So it enabled me to talk to you about my process without even going through the brutality that happened in the past. I could just say, you know, the restriction of the glass, and I'm already talking about slavery. And that's what it's all about. It was about that transatlantic slave trade. It was about that crossing. You know, we've got silver blue in the colours. We've got colours that actually resonated with the slave ship Zong, which was a painting by Turner. And I didn't even realise I was using these colours until I looked at the picture again recently, and I thought, I wonder where. I loved the colours when I was doing it, but I couldn't think why I loved them until I looked at this picture. And that's where I got them from. They were stored in my brain. And once I looked at this picture again, I thought, oh my God, you know, this is why I like these colours so much, just by looking at this one painting. And obviously the slave ship Zong was a ship that changed the course of history, as in for insuring slaves. They used to insure slaves for the passage, and if they lost them, they'd be compensated. But the Song, they said they'd run out of water before they hit shore, and they didn't. So when they came back to England and tried to get compensation, the insurers said, well, actually, you was okay, you'd have had enough water, and they didn't pay out. So then that changed the whole history, where people weren't, you know, the commodity, being the slave, wasn't being able to be insured. And if it wasn't for that one aspect, loads of people would have made money, and they didn't.
No, they didn't. Okay. Thank you so much. Fabulous collection, and it's a real treat to have you here. What a privilege. I wasn't sure that we would have any artists today. So I'm going to take you into this room that has almost life-size, certainly child-size sculptures of women that are represented by jagged art. And you can, maybe you remember, we saw them in a small scale when we were visiting jagged art, and I think that they are absolutely incredible women. Denise de Cordova is the artist, and they are all about feminist message. This one has a bit of a whip. These two are carrying things and working. We see one here who seems to wanting to fight, and has almost their canes. This one here is a little bit more peculiar. She is astride a log, and it looks like there's wood in every one of these images, but I'm giving you a look now at the full room, and you can see how they are really large and occupying this very large space fully. Here's another one here, and next to it is a piece by Thurl Wright, which is paper that has been woven. Actually, it's not Thurl Wright, it's Jorge Sarsale. And these are all small pieces of paper, strips of paper. I think you can see them, and you can almost read the words on it, and it's been woven and put together, and that drape of paper is incredible, from the ceiling all the way down to the floor. Amazing. So I think we are in the ballroom here, more of Denis women, and here we have floating ceramic stars by Andrea Salvatore, coming out of this jar and flying up from the chandelier, going up here and landing again on the floor there. There's one at the end of the room that you can see. So this is a quick tour of this incredible residence where contemporary craft and art has been placed against a very classic decor, a magnificent residence that we've been very privileged to have access to. And I give you the last look here to these rooms. I hope you enjoyed it. And Mike, yourself, if you have questions, I'd be very happy to answer your questions. And otherwise, please enjoy it. I will be sending the recording so you can share it if you want. And you can enjoy it again if you have time. I don't think there are any questions. So I'm going to sign off and wish you a fabulous rest of the day.